from this? Like, what are you getting out of this? I often wonder that. Like, what are you getting out of like arguing with complete strangers about bullshit that
Well,
doesn't matter?
do you really want to know? Because I fucking love it, dude.
Yeah. Well, I bet. Yeah. Go ahead. You enlighten me because you're a master shit poster yourself. So, what is it you're getting out of that?
The satisfaction of dropping information on people that
Mhm.
they can't handle in waves and volumes of truth, right? So, for instance, today, I saw another meme that came up that claims that this guy invented the clock and designed Washington D.C.
So I'm
It's a
assuming this is a African American person saying that black people did this, right?
Yes, and his name
Yeah.
was Becker. Well, listen, and everything that this guy did in life was super impressive. I mean, I'm not putting him down by any stretch of the imagination. Everything that this guy did in his life was impressive. He was smart. He was an inventor. He
Yeah.
worked with his hands. He thought things through very deeply, but he's not responsible for either of those two things. Okay, he's just simply not. I don't know. Man, the rumblers are going on out there. Um, so the bottom line is that Washington D.C. was designed by a Frenchman, and the clock was built in one, at least one of what we would call the modern forms, 235 years before this guy was even born, bro.
Right.
And so what they do is they say, well, he invented the clock in America. No, you can't invent the clock in two places.
Yeah.
The clock
Clock
got
existed long
invented.
before America did.
Yeah, the clock got invented. Well, actually, almost the same. No, because it was the early 1500s when the clock was built. So very close.
We were not a sovereign nation at
Right.
that
Yeah,
point.
definitely before
We were
actually.
not a United
Absolutely.
States of America, long before the United States
Absolutely.
of America. Yeah.
Absolutely. In that, if we're splitting hairs down like that, you're absolutely right. Totally. But it doesn't matter because you can't invent the clock in two places. Now, here's the thing: there are uh, events in history where you have people who simultaneously are kind of creating and developing and building the same thing that
Yeah.
have never had contact with each other. They don't know anything about each other. This
Sure.
is one of the curiosities of human innovation as far as
Well,
looking
necessity is
at
the mother of invention, and they had the necessity in two different places at the same
at the
time,
same
and two
time.
people and
Right,
two smart people figured it out at the
right.
same time.
Two smart, imaginative people put it to paper and they figured it out.
Right.
Okay. So for instance, you have the French and then you have the Wright brothers trying to figure out flying.
Mhm.
The French were using a monoplane and the Wright brothers used a tri-wing, which gave them more lift, which allowed them to be the first ones to fly. That's all.
Sure. Yep.
But there's indications that shit started way before that. That's besides the point. You cannot say, well, he invented something here 200 and something years after the thing was fucking invented in another place, right? And so by doing this, it is creating, it adds to this whole mythology of Afrocentrism,
Mhm.
which I feel does a huge disservice for the black community because think about this. When you build people up, giving them false information about their ancestors, where they come from, what their achievements are, and all these things, and then they get the real information, the truth comes to them. The longer that they've held on to that fucking lie, the more it hurts when they find out that they've been lied to.
Oh, yeah. Well, your
You know,
whole, existential reality has just been stripped away, which they always
right.
choose not to believe it. They'll call it a lie. They say it's propaganda.
Some
Everything
people
is
don't,
dismissed away. You can dismiss anything nowadays. Everything's dismissible.
but I have watched a lot of people through these debates, dude. Literally, because you know me, I do it all the time. They once their worldview has been cracked open, some people, of course, revert right back to the fuck you, mayonnaise eating, cave dwelling, and they get super racist about like I'm not being racist. I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
give you information so that
you're
you don't look foolish.
telling the truth, and I have to interject real quick, not to
Go
cut
ahead.
you off, but I'm gonna say this every time somebody brings it up.
Go ahead.
I don't recall the name you just said about the person that they say invented the clock.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. That's the person, if he invented the clock. Black people did not invent the clock.
Right.
If that gentleman did in fact invent the clock, which he did not, but if he did, it would be that gentleman's accomplishment, not the entire monolithic group of the black community.
Right.
Any more than because Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, white people walked on the moon. Like, I did not walk on the moon. That was Neil Armstrong's accomplishment, not mine.
The only time that you can put a monolithic umbrella over inventions is if you gather all the inventions that black people are any people, I shouldn't say black, but any people are responsible for, and you put them in a group and you point to the group, and you could say it. Now you have to break it apart so that every group is homogenous to the invention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you're doing is you're saying white people invented that, and you're pointing to a group of things. It's not anything one thing. It's all the things that white people invented.
Those things were invented by a white person.
A white person, right? But what I'm saying, if we're going to classify it, then that's how we would do it.
But I think it's a bad way of thinking, and
of course it is.
It's ingrained in us, and unfortunately, it's natural. It's your natural instinct to do it, is what I'm saying. And I always have to hammer that point every time someone brings stuff like this up, because it's like, we got to stop that group think idea. It's like, it's not a group.
Yeah, because it's tribalism.
Yeah, it's tribalism. And if you're not interested in actually ending racism, you just want it to continue, well, okay, then don't do that. But if you really want to change, like, get that thought process out of your brain, you got to start thinking that way. Like, stop the group think and start looking at the individuals. Anyway, sorry, I hope you didn't lose your whole train of thought on what you were saying, but
it's okay. I did, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No, it's all right. The point is that you can't. You gotta have, when you're going out to have these debates with people, or you get into it with people, a lot of people will devolve right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't devolve right away. I eventually I do. Once I see that they're just, they don't care, and they're just going to be, nothing you say is going to change their mind, because they take everything they hear your voice when they read your words in their own way.
Right.
So they put their own connotation on what you're saying, whether it's angry or mean or whatever.
And they usually take it as anger, because
they usually take it as anger.
The things as anger. And
yes, when in fact I don't ever go at anybody anger the first time. I mean, listen, I'm maybe not the Mr. Personality in the comments, but give me a fucking break for a minute, you know?
Well, I guess I guess that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the complete shit posting over stuff that doesn't matter. Like, people,
like real shit posting, fun time shit posting.
Yeah, like, well, okay. So for example, I brought this up the other day, the Beyonce thing, where she put out the country album, which, to me, I'm like, whatever. I don't give a shit. I don't even listen to pop country anyway. But maybe it's great, maybe it's not. I have no inclination to listen to it or give a shit about it one way or the other. The only thing I did hear was the Jolene song that she redid.
Okay.
And she changed the words to make it more like, I'm a girl boss. And it wasn't like, like the original song was, the lyrics, it's like taking it from a place of insecurity. Like, please don't take my man, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because you're so beautiful, don't take my man. Which is a very, like, humanistic and raw way to, like, it's not often you hear lyrics that way, that are not self-serving in some way like that, where you're really putting yourself out there. And she changed it to be more self-serving and more like, I'm a boss. Like, no man would ever leave me for you. No man would ever leave me, period, kind of attitude, you know?
Well, dude, that whole thing is what led me to my whole Black Twitter experience over the weekend.
Right. And it's so, well, the point I'm making is that people are arguing about this. And then this person throws out there, black people invented country music. I said this yesterday too. And it was like, what? No. Like, what do you, like, and that's the kind of thing. And then they go back and forth. They're arguing. It's just, you're just shit posting at this point. It's like, you're just stirring the pot. You're being an asshole. There's absolutely, well, what the hell is that? I can't unsee that shit.
Shit posting.
I can't unsee that. You know, I have not had a Bud Light since.
You don't think that Dylan's cute right there?
Oh, gorgeous.
What is it? The 5 o'clock shadow?
Yeah.
Or the fact that it looked like somebody put their knee on the back of this nigga's neck and then pulled his face back against his skull, stapled it.
Oh, all right. That's enough of that.